Happy New Year, Sun City Anthem. I'm Henderson Mayor Debra March. For those whom I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, it's wonderful to be co-hosting at SCA-TV studio today, along with Clark County Commissioner Michael Naft. Michael, great to see you again so soon here at Sun City Anthem.
Well, it's so good to be back here with you today, Mayor. Thank you for all your work that you do for this community and for our entire city. It's a real pleasure getting to represent Southern Nevada and particularly this area alongside you, me at Clark County and you in the city of Henderson. As you said, we're here at the campus today to kick off the first Anthem Alive for 2022. Guess I'm in a football frame of mind.
Just win, baby. Now that we have the Raiders here in Henderson, we expect a lot of great football moments, and certainly in Clark County with the Allegiant Stadium. I got to light the Raiders torch at the game in November, and it was an incredible honor for me to be able to do that along with my son, who is an Army Ranger, and it was Veterans Recognition Day as well. On this month's show, we'll talk about the 2021 accomplishments in Henderson and the game plan for the future of Henderson in 2022.
That's great. January is full of events, most not as well known as Martin Luther King Jr. Day on the 17th. For example, January 3rd is Women Rock Day. He Said, She Said movie reviewers, the Walshes, have their take on the Aretha Franklin movie, Respect.
What an amazing life story. January also is the month that Ellis Island first opened its doors in 1892, and I know my grandparents came through Ellis Island. Reporter Phil Schlager covers the hidden story of that famous island.
The first month of the year is also a time to set goals. It's National Vision Board Day on the 8th and Organize Your Home Day on the 14th.
We celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day on the 17th, and Irene Concilia has a review of a book that's apropos for this occasion, plus we'll tell you what's on calendar for the King Week.
The 18th Amendment, Prohibition, was ratified on January 1st, 1863, and during the Prohibition era, speakeasy bars appeared to satisfy the public's desire to drink. Marie Ortega Nanos has a story about some Las Vegas speakeasies.
Sounds like fun. Plus, National Technology Day is January 6th, and we'll touch on that topic as well, and how technology is changing the way that we live.
Speaking of technology, it's the birthday of SCA-TV, 17 years. Congratulations. Technology has really improved, I know, and production and the volunteers have enjoyed the learning process. Kudos to everyone who's been involved in each of those 17 years.
Inspire Your Heart with Art Day on January 31st wraps up the show with some visual inspirations for all of us.
That's a full calendar. We better get to work. So how should we celebrate Opposite Day on the 25th and Backwards Day on the 31st? Well, don't go away. It's all ahead for you next on this month's Anthem Alive.
We're so pleased to be your Anthem Alive hosts for the month of January. This active adult community has set the standard for other active retirement communities and is a shining example of what active seniors can contribute.
So true. Not enough praise for this wonderful community. And as we mentioned, it's also the 17th birthday of SCA-TV. Now that is admirable. The station was founded by CBS retirees Larry and Carol Attenbury in 2005, followed by many others who shared their skills and experience. My own sister Charlene was an active member of SCA-TV working here several years ago, helping to program and assist volunteers. So I have some firsthand insight into just how hard it is and how much hours and time are contributed to this station.
Anthem Alive has morphed into a longer monthly show, and we have a full lineup to take us through the month. So what's our lead story, Michael?
Well, we might just have spent New Year's Eve rocking around the clock, but January is Women's Rock Day on the 3rd. It celebrates the amazing women of rock and roll, commemorating the date when the first woman ever, Aretha Franklin, was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on January 3rd, 1987.
You know, Aretha Franklin was a good friend of Martin Luther King Jr., whom we honor this month. Did you know that I'm an Aretha fan and that I was raised in Detroit? She made her debut in Las Vegas in 1969, a little before I did, though. Respect is a movie about her life. Here are SCA-TV movie reviewers Linda and Don Walsh with He Said, She Said, Aretha Franklin, Respect.
How is Aretha doing?
Aretha's doing alright.
Just alright. Singing is sacred, and you shouldn't do it just because somebody wants you to. What's most important is that you are treated with dignity and respect.
For this episode of He Said, She Said, we watched the movie Respect, about the life and career of the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. I really enjoyed her music growing up. Having had a somewhat brief recording career myself as a teenager, she was one of my singing heroes. I must admit, though, I was not ready for at times shocking and at other times somewhat wishy-washy manner in which her story was told. There was and is so much about Aretha Franklin that I did not know.
I got a single by this new chick named Aretha Franklin. I'm on to present Aretha Franklin Day.
You're not about to mess this up for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Aretha Franklin.
I loved the title song Respect and her song Chain of Fools even more, but I didn't know way back then that she had her first child when she was only 12 years old, and I think I'm glad that I did not.
One of the issues that I had with the movie is I didn't get the Aretha that I remembered and knew back then. I know now that I was foolish to even expect that. After all, there was only one Aretha Franklin. Jennifer Hudson, who played Aretha, is certainly talented and was Aretha's own choice to play her in the film, and she gives a stellar performance. She has great singing ability and at times looked physically very much like the woman she was playing.
Forrest Whitaker was great as Aretha's father, the Reverend C.L. Franklin. He was the pastor of Detroit's New Bethel Baptist Church starting in 1946 when Aretha was just 4 years old. Very successful and very well known, he raised Aretha and her sisters in an affluent and privileged lifestyle. His success brought the family in contact with many famous people, among them the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., and Aretha is shown singing at Dr. King's funeral. But her devotion to the causes he stood for is barely touched upon in the script.
There are brief scenes with Aretha's mother, Barbara Franklin, played by Audra McDonald. She was a gifted pianist and, according to Mahalia Jackson, one of the finest gospel singers in the country. Separated from her husband and her children, Barbara died when Aretha was 10. This was portrayed as Aretha's first tragedy and was followed by even darker episodes. A very brief black and white clip shows a young Aretha, played by Sky Dakota Turner, in a physical condition that should never beset a 12-year-old little girl. The profile of a child who is pregnant and near term is shocking, to say the least.
Marlon Wayans is very believable as Ted White, the handsome but seedy first husband and Aretha's manager. Aretha loves him, but White is obviously in over his head professionally when she becomes a star and needs a truly experienced manager.
Mark Maron, who plays Atlantic Records partner Jerry Wexler, was a stroke casting genius. Wexler was famous for coining the phrase rhythm and blues, prior to the use of that phrase, music from black singers were referred to as race records. Wexler's use of the term rhythm and blues seemed to help him get Aretha, where she came from, what she stood for, what she was made of, and I think she respected Wexler for it. Her career certainly made huge advances after he became involved.
The subjects of mental illness, alcoholism, rape, and spousal abuse are all intertwined with the story, but never in a manner that gives the viewer confidence that everything will be all right. The movie pinballs from one sad circumstance to another, and the viewer is left with the overwhelming question of, with all of this going on, how on earth did she ever become so successful? There is a point where she seems to turn back to her roots and religious upbringing, and in so doing shakes off many of her demons and finds a path forward to continued successes.
But some of her greatest successes were in her activism, which is hardly touched upon in the movie. During the running of the credits at the end of the movie, there is actual footage of Aretha herself singing at Dr. King's funeral and also for the Obama inauguration. But these and many other highlights, and many lowlights as well, were not even touched upon in the film. Perhaps her life just held too much for one movie. I give the movie 1 thumb up for entertainment value and 2 thumbs up for acting.
I agree, Don. I thought much of the acting was superb, but in the story I didn't feel I got a sense of the real Aretha. For that reason, I also give it 1 thumb up for entertainment, but 2 thumbs up for acting. I am Linda Walsh.
And I'm Don Walsh. Thank you for watching this month's edition of
He Said, She Said.
I have the chills.
Do you see what she is? She's a miracle.
Thanks, Linda and Don, for that review. I can't wait to see it myself.
Me either. I'm looking forward to it. From a story about Aretha Franklin's family to our own personal journeys, I don't know if any of you have researched your family ancestry, but many of us have ancestors who passed through Ellis Island. I know I did. Sun City Anthem TV reporter Phil Schlager covers that story next.
It's estimated that 40% of all Americans living today can trace at least one of their ancestors back to a tiny island in New York Harbor. The very first immigrant to step foot on Ellis Island was a brown-haired Irish lad from Queenstown in County Cork. Her name was Annie Moore. Annie and her 2 younger brothers, Anthony and Philip, had spent the last 12 days at sea aboard the SS Nevada. Day after day had been dark and airless below the deck of the steamship. The 3 were coming to America to reunite with their parents, who had left Ireland 4 years earlier. It was now December 31st, 1892, New Year's Eve, and Annie's ship had finally arrived at New York Harbor. The Nevada had arrived too late on New Year's Eve for its passengers to be processed on Manhattan. That meant tomorrow, its third-class passengers would be first to pass through the newly built immigration station in the harbor. Finally, at 10:30 a.m. on New Year's Day, a flag on the tiny island was dipped 3 times as a signal to transport the first boatload of immigrants. A chorus of foghorns, clanging bells, steam whistles, and cheers serenaded a barge adorned with red, white, and blue bunting as it ferried Nevada's steerage passengers to the dock at Ellis Island in the shadow of the Statue of Liberty. Why Annie was the first of the 107 immigrants in Nevada's steerage to be processed at Ellis Island has long been questioned. In one story, an Italian man gave up his place at the front of the line after seeing her in tears. In another, A large German man had one foot on the gangplank when a sailor held him back and called out, "Ladies first," while ushering Annie ahead. Regardless which story is accurate, Annie was definitely the first to bound down the gangplank with her brothers in tow. She entered through the enormous double doors of the cavernous 3-story wooden building, skipping 2 steps at a time up the main staircase. Turning to her left, she was ushered into one of the 10 aisles and up to a tall lectern light registry desk. "What is your name, my girl?" asked Charles Henley, a former Treasury Department official, who had requested the honor of registering the station's first immigrant. "Annie Moore, sir," replied the Irish girl. Wielding his pen over a fresh piece of paper, Henley inked Annie's name and those of her brothers, along with their ages, last place of residence, and intended destination, on the very first page of the registry book. Annie was then escorted into the next room, where former Congressman John B. Weber, federal superintendent of immigration for the Port of New York, gave her a $10 gold piece and wishes for a Happy New Year. A Catholic chaplain blessed her and gave her a silver coin, while another bystander slipped her a $5 gold piece. Then she passed into the waiting room and into the arms of her parents. Over the course of the next 62 years, more than 12 million immigrants would follow in Annie's footsteps through Ellis Island. There, they underwent medical and legal inspections lasting 3 to 7 hours to certify that they did not have a contagious disease or another condition that could make them a public burden. Some 2% of the new arrivals were denied entry and sent back to their home countries. 5 years after Annie arrived, the massive wooden immigration station that Annie passed through was completely consumed by a fire. The date was June 15th, 1897. The blaze was not lethal, but it destroyed the collection of leather-bound registry books listing every immigrant who had landed in New York City since 1855. Following her brief moment of notoriety, Annie Moore dissolved into oblivion. Not until decades after her death in 1924 and the closure of Ellis Island in 1954 was her memory resurrected. As the immigration station underwent the largest historic restoration in U.S. history during the 1980s, Annie became the public face of the immigrants who had passed through Ellis Island. Today, Ellis Island is part of the Statue of Liberty National Monument and is accessible by the public only by ferry. The north side of the island is the site of the main building, now a National Museum of Immigration. The south side of the island, including the Ellis Island Immigrant Hospital, is open to the public only through guided tours. Some immigrants who first arrived on Ellis Island went on to settle in the far-flung corners of the United States, some half a world away from the homes they had left behind. Others arrived in New York and stayed there for the rest of their lives. Annie Moore was one of the latter. Annie would live the rest of her life in a few square blocks on Manhattan's Lower East Side. She had the typical hardscrabble immigrant's life. She gave birth to at least 10 children, 5 of whom died before the age of 3. Annie died from heart failure in 1924. She was an enormous woman. According to family lore, her casket was too big to squeeze down the narrow apartment staircase, so it had to be transported out of a window. Today, a statue of Annie stands on Ellis Island to honor the first of the 12 million immigrants to arrive there. Reporting for SCA-TV, I'm Phil Schlager.
I love hope, I love tears, I love freedom, I love fears, but it's not the isle you left behind. That I love hunger, I love pain, I'll you never see again, but the isle of home Yes, the Isle of Home is always on your mind.
Very interesting history and trivia. On a side note, it's also Trivia Day on January 4th. You can go to the Ellis Island website address on the screen and research your family names if you haven't already.
Martin Luther King Jr. Day is always a special commemoration that we look forward to on the third Monday of January. Irene Concilia has a timely review of this month's book talk.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me
The prize-winning author John Meacham has written a powerful biography of an American icon titled His Truth is Marching On, John Lewis and the Power of Hope. This is a well-researched, masterfully crafted book about John Lewis, whom we all know from his activism in the civil rights movement and the political arena. His life story is a compelling read for its historic relevance, its religious fervor, and its inspiring message of hope for our nation. For John Lewis, slavery wasn't an abstraction. It was as real to him as his great-grandfather, who had been born into slavery in 1862 and lived with him well into old age. It was clear from his great-grandfather's complexion and hair texture that he must have been fathered by a white man. But the subject was shrouded in secrecy and silence. Robert, as he was called then, was a precocious child. He learned to read early on using the family Bible and gleaned from its pages a way forward. Blessed are they who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And an instinctive aversion to inequality began to grow within him as he witnessed firsthand the unbridled meanness around him. You've no doubt heard the story of young Robert preaching to the chickens, and the metaphor is unmistakable. A serious young boy preaching to an unruly flock and insistently offering the gospel to an audience disinclined to believe it. He later stated that this experience taught him patience, self-discipline, and perseverance in the face of insurmountable obstacles. His father, an ambitious man, had managed to scrape together enough money to buy a 110-acre farm in Pike County, Alabama, and led a hard-scrabble life growing cotton to make ends meet. This was the heart of the segregated South, where the Negro was kept in his place by intimidation and violence. White-robed, hooded Klansmen walked unfettered down Main Street in Montgomery in broad daylight. Lynchings and rapes were commonplace and went mostly unreported and unpunished. Much of his family life centered around the church. The stories of enslavement, deliverance, and radical love resonated with young Robert. But the preacher who came down from Montgomery once a month focused on the hereafter, not the here, and spoke hardly a word about the injustice they faced in their day-to-day lives. The message of hope and change he longed to hear came instead from the radio, spoken by Martin Luther King, who proclaimed, "In your struggle for justice, let your oppressor know that the festering sore of segregation debilitates the white man as much as the Negro." To young Lewis, it felt like he was speaking directly to him, and he wanted to be just like him. Lewis was quoted as saying, I no longer accepted things the way they were like my parents could. No, I wanted the world to be better. And in his course of study at college, he embraced nonviolence as a philosophy and as an agent of change. The Christian doctrine of love, combined with the Gandhian philosophy of nonviolence, became one of his most potent weapons in the struggle for freedom. Through nonviolence, courage displaces fear, love transforms hate, hope ends despair. The Truth is Marching On is a powerful book you'll want to own, underline, and read over and over again for its profound truths. Their cause must be our cause. It's all of us who must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice. Those words were spoken by President Lyndon Johnson to Congress on March 15, 1965. This book received 5-star ratings from an unbelievable 94% of Amazon reviewers. 94%. And I too give this outstanding book 5 stars. I'm Irene Consiglio.
Ain't gonna let no sheriff turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let no sheriff turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking on, keep on talking on, marching to the freedom land. Ain't gonna let Alabama turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let Alabama turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching to the freedom land. Ain't gonna let segregation turn me round, turn me round.
What a great read. There's a parade in downtown Las Vegas on January 17th, but January 12th starts King Week with many activities. More information is on the website at the address on your screen, including the Martin Luther King Jr. Technology Summit on January 14th.
January 6th is National Technology Day. In Henderson, we're proud to be a part of the Smart Cities Initiative, where we're investing in technology to help our city operate smarter, faster, and better. We have plans to harness technology and data to improve everything from transportation infrastructure to public safety and to transparency.
That's incredible, Mayor. And in Clark County, we're working on a technology district connecting Switch and their supercomputer to the Harry Reid Research Park, and making sure that we are using technology to boost our economy and to put smart and bright minds to work right here in Las Vegas.
That's wonderful.
I'm sure here in Sun City Anthem, neighborhood communications are facilitated by emails and social media platforms like Nextdoor. And during the shutdown, meetings and social contacts were replaced by Zoom, GoToMeeting, and others. I can go on because I haven't even touched on chat rooms, Viber, WhatsApp.
You know, during the shutdown, to make it possible for more than 2,500 city employees to work productively while staying safe at home, the City of Henderson's Information Technology Department quickly rose to the challenge, providing equipment, new software, and immediate training on new technologies to help our employees telecommute effectively. I understand that SCA-TV managed to keep their broadcasting on reporters filming their segments in their homes and using cloud sharing via Dropbox. How many active adult communities do you know that have their own TV station and website? And to be in operation for 17 years as a nonprofit educational broadcasting station staffed by all senior volunteers. I congratulate all of you and wish you the best in 2022.
Yes, there are important public service announcements and updates from the City of Henderson and Clark County that SCA-TV transmits for the Sun City Anthem residents. The city and the county have had a long relationship with this TV station and Sun City Anthem. So let's talk about the triumphs of last year and what we expect to see in 2022.
We've seen so much momentum in the last 2 years as a direct result of the steadfast commitment to our vision and the priorities of our strategic plan. from the Raiders headquarters and the incredible growth in West Henderson to construction underway on Haas Automation, the largest manufacturer of machines that build machines, who will bring 2,500 high-paying, high-skilled jobs to our community. And even the complete transformation of the historic Water Street District. We've seen some of the top-selling master plan communities in the nation, like Inspirata and Cadence. And soon, Sun City Anthem will enjoy the benefits of their extension. As the second safest city in America, public safety is always a focus for us. Next year, we'll be opening a new police station in West Henderson and a new fire station in Cadence. And we're building a new state-of-the-art crime lab as well. Many new businesses are opening in West Henderson, and Henderson Hospital is expanding too with a new 40-acre campus at St. Rose and Raiders Way. We're also excited to open a beautiful new Dollar Loan Center this spring. My State of the City address will be the very first event in March at this location. Commissioner Naft, can you give us an update on some of the things that the county's doing?
That's incredible, Mayor, and really inspiring to see all that's happening in the city of Henderson. I congratulate you and your entire team there. Likewise, in unincorporated Clark County, we've seen even through the pandemic in the early days, thanks to the governor's directive, we saw construction continue so that we were able to open things like Allegiant Stadium, like the brand new convention center, the West Hall, like the Loop system. All of these projects that had we had to pause those, who knows if they would ever been brought back. So because of that thoughtfulness, we were able to push through, open all of these new assets that are right now today when we need it most, bringing people from domestically and hopefully continue to see more international travel resume to Southern Nevada.
That's wonderful.
Also in Clark County's purview is the ownership and operation of 5 airports, including Reed International Airport, one of the nation's busiest, which we've seen travel through that airport hit record numbers, pre-pandemic, pre-2019 numbers. And all of that is thanks to people getting vaccinated, people following the precautions at the federal and local level, and in large part thanks to the vaccine that so many in this community have helped make available to us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we both know the SCA COVID-19 task force has been proactive to keep this community informed and to provide the resources that they have needed during the pandemic. What a success story this is, Michael.
That's right, Mayor. And over 33,000 vaccinations have been given right here at Anthem. Just recently, 1,448 boosters were received during a 24-hour period over 6 days in November. That was a record, and all done so expeditiously.
You know, it was wonderful to share that news with the governor when he was here for Veterans Day.
Having a vision and following it, as the SCA COVID-19 Task Force did, is a true inspiration in action.
The SCA-TV website was a new vision in 2019, but now it's getting a facelift, so new shows and reviews and stories will be posted soon.
Community information and other updates are on the Community Hour on Cox 1960, shown on your screen. The monthly schedule is on the hour, and in monthly Spirit Magazine, Relay, and our SCA-TV website.
SCA Activities Coordinator Allison Gray's weekly report is just before the hour. So much is going on in this wonderful active community and around the valley. I believe that we have suggestions up next from SCA-TV videographer, reporter, and editor Marie Ortega-Nanos. Let's roll it.
Let me take you to some Las Vegas speakeasies. But first, here's a little history, starting with a noble experiment known as the 18th Amendment. The 18th Amendment aimed to reduce crime, corruption, social problems, lessen the tax burdens created by prisons and poorhouses, and eventually improve a person's health and happiness. Support came from groups like the Anti-Alcohol, Anti-Saloon League, and the Women's Temperance Union. In simple terms, the 18th Amendment prohibits the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors for beverage purposes, but did not ban the consumption of alcohol. This constitutional ban from 1920 to 1933 is known as the Prohibition. Even though the 18th Amendment was enforced, people found ways to make and consume alcoholic drinks. During Prohibition, there was rampant bootlegging or the illegal manufacturing and sale of liquor. People died from tainted liquor like bathtub gin and toxic moonshine. The Prohibition also gave rise to the appearance of secret establishments selling alcohol called speakeasies. They were called speakeasy because prospective patrons had to whisper or speak easy through a small opening in a door to get in. Usually, they whisper the name of the person who sent them. The Prohibition years also saw a strong rise in organized crime. Speakeasies sprang up faster than they were shut down by law enforcement. Some speakeasies were drab, makeshift saloons in basements or tenements located in shabby parts of town. However, they were also found in back rooms of high-end residences and even in fine restaurants like New York City's swanky 21 Club. Speakeasies disappeared after Prohibition ended in 1933. But then, starting in early 2000, there was a revival of speakeasy-style cocktail bars. Modern-day speakeasies are all over the world. They are often harder to find than your typical nightclub. They may not have a website or local listing, or are only known by word of mouth. And to capture the thrill of the Prohibition years, they may even require passwords or make your entry more difficult than normal. The modern speakeasies also served another purpose: to get people to care about good cocktails again and to see drink making as an art, similar to cooking. Here in Las Vegas, we have speakeasies in hotels like the Cosmopolitan, Resorts World, and Caesar's Palace. The other speakeasies are off the strip. Some give the feel, the look, and assortment of spirits and cocktails that transport you back to the 1920s. Here are some of the ones I visited. Capos, located on a nondescript business area off West Sahara Avenue. To enter, you need to knock on the door and give a secret password to a man through an opening on a wall. So make up a password like "Vinny sent me." Be original. A fake door opens and you're ushered inside. The dimly lit club is also a restaurant that offers a full dinner that you can enjoy with your wine or cocktails. There's also a live singer that serenades the customers with oldies music. Tuesday is Locals Night with discounts for local residents. Then, there's the Speakeasy located in the basement of the Mob Museum called The Underground. The Underground offers a variety of cocktail drinks including moonshine. It is accessible through the museum or an outside entrance. If you use the actual entrance, you do need a good secret word or sentence to enter. Again, just make it up. The Underground is a speakeasy museum bar. A functioning distillery that makes moonshine is on site. You can also purchase and take home the in-house made moonshine and drink at your leisure. Sometimes a docent is around to explain the whole distilling process. If you want authentic 1920 experience, go to the laundry room. The discreet entrance can be found inside the Commonwealth. It's not that easy to get in. You need to send an email 24 to 48 hours ahead of time to make a reservation. The maximum capacity is only 22 guests. Your reservation is guaranteed by a credit card, and if you're 10 minutes late, your card is charged and the reservation is automatically canceled. The laundry room offers 27 signature drinks to choose from, and the barkeep can make up a concoction based on your favorite flavors and how you feel that evening. He is amazing. The drinks are strong, so make sure you have a designated driver. Drink and enjoy the popcorn and the music from the piano player. There are house rules you need to follow, including no photography, which makes it difficult to show others just how this place evokes the historic Speakeasy. And for the exact locations of the establishments that I visited, well, that's for you to find out. After all, they're speakeasies. Marie Ortega-Ananos for Sun City Anthem TV.
Southern Nevada is full of fun.
Well, the 18th Amendment would not have been good for Nevada. Our visitors pay most of the taxes. It's great to live in Nevada, isn't it?
Sure is. Here at Sun City, you can see lots of information on our state and city on SCA-TV. And if you click on the link from the Monday Community Chronicles, it will take you to SCA-TV programming on your computer or notebook. Make sure you are signed up to receive it, and don't forget to read the SCA-TV page in the Spirit magazine.
All this takes a terrific amount of organization, and we all know organization is one of the keys to success. January is Organize Your Home Day, and I can't wait to get home and do that. We're having some timely tips and ideas for your next Organize Your Home.
I think I'll start with my desk, as Organize Your Desk Day is also this month. I never knew there were so many events in January. Thank you so much to our screenwriters who are also celebrating Screenwriters Day, January 5th. What would we do without them?
A day for everyone. SCA-TV wants to hear from you, the viewers. You can send any emails by clicking the Contact Us icon on the SCA-TV website. You can make comments or suggestions, or even inquire about volunteer opportunities.
Email SCA-TV at the address on the screen if you have problems with your Cox TV channel. The volunteers make this community what it is, so not only does it enhance the active lifestyle here, but it's a cost saving as well. Join friends of SCA-TV to support the station, even if volunteering isn't possible for you right now.
On behalf of the volunteers and crew at SCA-TV, thank you for your support during the last year when communication was so important.
And watch Anthem Overtime and Breaking News for the latest headlines. It is such an honor representing Sun City Anthem on the Clark County Commission, and I can't thank each of you enough for making this community as special and as productive as it truly is. It's such a pleasure, and particularly to be back in person again, starting as we were together commemorating Veterans Day, and now here in studio celebrating all of the incredible events in January.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for making Henderson your place to call home. And
all the best in 2022.